If money makes you feel stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, maybe all of the above, I'm here today to tell you that you aren't bad at money. You've just had a relationship with it your entire life, and nobody has taught you how to have a healthy one. Today, we're talking about your relationship with money. It's something that you interact with on a daily basis, and most people don't make it a priority. They avoid it like the plague. Before we get started, I just want us to ground and truly understand why our relationship with money is so important. I looked up some statistics. This is from a study 2025, so it's very new, last year, from Northwestern Mutual. They surveyed a bunch of Americans and found that 7 in 10 Americans say that financial insecurity has caused them depression and anxiety. 4 in 10 millennials or Gen Z, that's my generation, feel depression or anxiety around money on a weekly basis. Weekly. 57% of Americans who are partnered said financial uncertainty has impacted their relationship. More than half of Gen Z and millennials label their finances and their financial knowledge as weak. And the mental health epidemic is continuing to grow. And a lot of that has been attributed to financial insecurity. And when I looked at these numbers, I just thought, wow, this is heartbreaking. Like, more people need to know that money needs to be a priority. It is something that literally is one of the most important things in our life. So first, do you even know what your relationship to money is? Like, do you even know what that means? Your relationship to money is how you interact with money always. So how you think about it, how you talk about it, what feelings and emotions come up when you're interacting with it, whenever you're earning it or spending it or investing it. All of this plays a part in your relationship with money. And the reason why your relationship with money matters is because it spills into all of these other areas of our life. It spills into our physical well-being, our mental well-being, our spiritual well-being. It spills into our relationships. Our relationship with money matters. Money needs to be talked about. We need to stop as a society avoiding money. It's only making this problem worse. So let's talk about it. What is your relationship with money? When you think about like your overall relationship, how are you interacting with money? Are you constantly avoiding looking at your money? Do you feel shame around your money? Maybe how much you earn or how much you spend or how little you've invested at this point in your life? Maybe you've gotten yourself into some debt and you feel shameful around that. Maybe you feel guilty because you spend on yourself or don't spend on yourself. Our relationship with money doesn't just matter whenever we are not making enough. You could be making a ton of money. In fact, I've worked with many clients who are making tons of money and they still have a poor relationship with money. They still feel like it's not enough. They feel unsafe, anxious. They still have a nervous system that is dysregulated when it comes to money. So as you reflect, even if you're a high income earner, how is your relationship with money? I can tell you a personal example for me in my life. I was a high income earner for a long time when I had a corporate job. But for me, I found myself constantly overspending. I was constantly buying things that I didn't need just because they were on sale. Quick dopamine hits because I was unhappy in other areas of my life. And it was one of those things that I witnessed in my childhood. Is my mom growing up was a huge couponer. We would always sit down with her and she'd be cutting the coupons out of the paper. And we were allowed to buy things when they were on sale, or we were allowed to buy things whenever she had a coupon. And so what I witnessed as a child, I started playing that out in my own adult life. I started buying things just because they were on sale. And what I ended up with was a closet full of clothes, an apartment full of stuff that I wasn't even using or that I wasn't wearing. And it just was stuff that was accumulating in my house. But that was a direct correlation to what I saw and what I witnessed as a child. And that's one place where our money behaviors and habits generally come from. There's typically 3 places. Number one is our upbringing, is what we witnessed as children growing up, either from our parents or our caregivers. We would see how they interacted with money, how they behaved with money, what their relationship with money was like. So maybe they were overspenders. Maybe they didn't talk about money. It was like a topic that was avoided. Maybe they were constantly saying, we can't afford that. We don't have money for that. Maybe they were always fighting over money. There was a lot of conflict in the household around money. Maybe one of the parents was working all the time and was never home. And so we start developing this relationship with money where we associate money and hard work, or we associate money and not being able to spend time with our family. So that's number one. Number two is our own lived experiences. So maybe in your past experience, you got laid off from a job at some point. Maybe you got yourself into a lot of debt or student loan debt or some sort of like financial hardship. Maybe you got yourself in a relationship where there was financial abuse or financial control happening. And then number three is our identity and our worthiness. Money and self-worth are completely tied together. Your self-worth is directly tied to how you feel about money. And in business, this can look like how much you charge for your services is directly tied to how worthy you feel of receiving that amount of money for your work. If you're constantly telling yourself that I'm just bad with money, or I don't know how to handle money, your identity is wrapped into someone who is not good with money. What happens is when you manifest money through your business or your work, you embody the version of somebody who's not good with money. And what happens? You end up spending it all. You end up getting yourself in debt. You end up getting yourself into some situation where you are proving and reaffirming to yourself the identity that you have set for yourself as someone who's not good with money. So based on these three things, these past experiences or our identity or self-worth, our childhood, we end up falling into what I like to call a money style. It's basically the style in which you show up whenever you're interacting with money. You can think of them as your relationship to money falling in these different buckets. I have 7 of them to share with you today, and these are the 7 most common styles that I see when interacting with people. And what I want to say is, do not feel any shame or guilt or any type of way towards yourself. We all fall into these buckets at different times, and it's just based on our past experiences. And once we have awareness of it, we're able to shift out of this style and start showing up in a different, more regulated way as we interact with our money, and we start healing that relationship that we have with money. So let's go through those 7. Number 1 is the avoider, is someone who doesn't want to open their bank account. They're going to pretend like it's not happening, like that is not something I touch. Like, please don't talk to me about money. I want nothing to do with it. The next one is the resenter. This is someone who is always saying, money is so stressful. Money is so hard. Only greedy people want a lot of money. They feel guilty whenever they want a lot of money. They get mad at money, maybe their bosses, their clients, just society, the system in general. They're the ones who resent money. Then we have the not enough person. This is the person who is always saying it's just not enough. It's the person who is constantly overworking. They're constantly moving the goalposts. They're constantly putting stress on them. I have to make more. I have to make more. It's constantly feeling that like no matter how much I make, it's not enough. They're always feeling behind, even when they're doing well in their business. If they're making a lot of money at their job, even if they're doing well, they always are feeling I'm behind. It's still not enough. Then we have the chaotic spender. This is where I fell in a few years ago before I started working on this. And this is the person who is spending for those dopamine hits. They're not actually spending because they need something, and it's just like, I need that quick dopamine hit to fulfill some other gap or some other area in my life where I don't feel fulfilled. They're buying things that they don't need because they're on sale. It's just chaotic spending. There's no sort of rhyme or reason for it. I deserve it. And then they go into this shame spiral because they bought a bunch of stuff that they didn't need again. Then there's this style where it's somebody who's like over controlling, where they are hoarding. They're too scared to spend money. And so they are like super budgeters. They're pinching every single penny. They are too scared to actually circulate money because there's this fear. If I spend this money, I may not get it back. I may not be able to make it back. They're living in this fear, this anxiety of actually spending and circulating money. It feels safer for them to hoard than it is to actually spend. Then we have the people pleaser. This is the person who feels guilty when spending on themselves, who's underpricing their services, who's overgiving, who feels guilty around receiving money. They feel guilty for accepting money. I actually see this. I work in the wellness industry with a lot of wellness entrepreneurs, and I see this come up a lot of time is spiritual wellness, health practitioners. They feel guilty for charging people for the services that they're offering. And it's because they feel like, oh, well, this service is to help somebody. Like, how can I actually charge them for this? But what they need to recognize is that this is just a relationship problem with money. They are offering value to their client, to whoever they're providing the service to. Money is just a value exchange. They deserve to receive money back. And then we have the peaceful money partner. It's someone who feels regulated around money. There's no emotion tied in money. It is what it is. And this is where we all want to get. Like, we want to get to a place where there is neutrality around money. We know money comes in and we know money goes out. And when we know how to receive more money, we know how to generate more value in the marketplace, which is therefore what attracts more money. We feel safe when we're spending money. It's just neutral. Money just is. All right, now let's talk about the nervous system, because all of this is directly related to how you feel in your nervous system. Because when you are seeing money as a threat, when you are seeing money as something that is a struggle, that is unsafe, it triggers one of the stress responses in your nervous system. And you may or may not have heard of these, but it's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. These are the 4 stress responses that happen whenever you are signaling to your nervous system that money is unsafe. So say you go into fight. That's when money is argumentative, controlling. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of anger towards money. That's a fight response. Your flight response is when you're avoiding. That's the avoidant behavior. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to run away. I want nothing to do with this. That is a flight response. Freeze is when you shut down. You're so numb, you can't even feel with it. You just block it all off. You go cold, you go completely numb and just say, I can't handle this. That's a freeze response. And fawn, which is one that doesn't get talked about a lot, but this is when you're falling into the overgiving, you're discounting, you're giving away your services for free. You're working with clients that aren't aligned with you because you just need to make money. That's a fawn response. Fawn means people pleasing. When we're not creating safety in the body, these stress responses are going to continue to come up. You can work with all the numbers all you want. You can try to implement healthy money habits. You can try to budget. You can try to cut back your spending. But if you haven't healed your relationship with money in your nervous system and in the body, the patterns will just continue. So let's talk about it. How do we heal our relationship with money? Number 1, self-awareness. It's always number 1. Okay, guys. Number 1 is self-awareness. We have to notice and understand what is our relationship with money. This is when you want to go back, look at your childhood, start journaling on what did I witness as a child as it relates to money in my household? From my parents, from my caregivers, maybe at school. Was there fighting? Was there a lot of tension? Was it not talked about? Were you constantly told money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that? Like, what were the common sayings that would come up around money? What did you witness? Did your mom have money? Did she have her freedom? Did she go spend on herself? That's a big one. Like, did you see your mom go spend on herself? Or was she too scared or guilty or shameful to actually treat herself? Start looking at your current behaviors and how you feel, what emotions come up, how does it feel in your body when you interact with money, and start noticing it. Next time you go to actually swipe your credit card at the store, or you go to pay a bill, or next time you receive money from a client, or next time you need to price a contract for a client, notice what comes up. Similar to my shopping when I was buying everything on sale, and I linked it back to that's how I grew up in childhood. What is the correlation? And once you identify that, you can start breaking it, and we can become aware of the patterns that are happening in our current reality. Look at your self-worth. Are you not valuing yourself, and that is resulting in you underpricing, undercharging, over delivering? And as you go through this process and you look at your money identity and you see maybe some of the stories that you're telling yourself, we want to start shifting those stories, that narrative. So if you're constantly identifying as somebody who says, I'm just not good with money, we want to reframe that. And you can say, maybe you don't feel good saying, I'm someone who's great at money. Maybe that doesn't resonate right now. You can just start affirming to yourself, I'm on the way to becoming better at my money. I am learning to become better with my money. And you can build from there. We want to start noticing the stories, the identity, the self-worth, the things that we are telling ourselves of how we are interacting with money, how our relationship with money is. And we want to reframe that and start affirming to ourselves something different. You can do this in the morning as morning affirmations throughout your day. Put Post-its. I used to put Post-its all over my windows or in my house of reaffirming the things, this new identity for myself. So it's a daily practice. This takes repetition. And then we're going to build a neutral money practice. This is a money date. And I talk about this all the time because it is so key for healing your relationship with money. I think one of the most common things that I see with entrepreneurs is they avoid money altogether. It is a no-fly zone. So we want to have a weekly money date where you sit down, look at your accounts, understand what came in, what went out, if you need to pay anything during that time, if you need to work on your books, if you need to make any financial transfers. This is your short time, and it doesn't have to take long. I do mine on Fridays. It usually takes 30 minutes. If I'm doing my books, maybe an hour, but it doesn't have to be a long practice. And if it's something that you feel like you're avoiding, make it fun or make it something special. I love to go to a coffee shop. I like to get dressed up and actually make it a date for myself. It's a date with me and my money because we need to prioritize money. It's important, remember? This is how we're going to start building self-trust. Self-trust is huge when it comes to your relationship with money because if we don't trust ourselves to actually manage the money that we have, to show up for our money, how are we going to manifest more money? How are we going to feel safe if we don't know how to manage our current financial situation? How are we going to feel safe to call in more money? If we don't know how to handle the $5,000 that we're making right now, how are we going to feel comfortable making $15,000? We need to build these systems, these processes in place so we feel like, no, I got this. I can handle this. I can handle more. Universe, send me more. The way that we build self-trust is we do the things that we say we're going to do. So if we told ourselves, I'm going to do my money date every week, I don't care if I have to shift the date, if I have to do it from home, if I have to do it in my bed, in my PJs, I don't care. I'm going to check in with my money at least once a week. One of the most important parts of this process, healing our relationship with money, is getting into the body and healing the nervous system. We went through the nervous system responses earlier, the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. This is where your stress response shows up when interacting with money. And the thing is that this stress response, and something that you need to understand about it is just trying to keep you safe. Our nervous system is there to keep us safe. So whenever there is a threat in our life, these responses are triggered in order to keep us safe, to keep us alive, to keep us protected. The problem is we have adapted as humans when back in the Stone Age, we needed these responses to help protect us from predators. We were out in the wilderness, hunting food, gathering food. We needed those responses to help protect us in the event that we might die. The issue is that now in this new age, we are treating our money as if it is a threat. So whenever we treat our money like it is unsafe, like there is a threat, it triggers these responses, and our body only knows to keep us safe. And so that's why it feels so stressful and anxious. Whenever these triggers come up, we need to get back into the body. So it does take some self-awareness on our part to notice when I'm interacting with money, say I'm going to pay my rent or pay some sort of bill. And that is triggering some sort of response in the body. Say that we end up getting angry and go into the fight stress response. We need to pause for 90 seconds and close our eyes and feel into, where am I feeling that anger? Can I pinpoint it in my body? Is my chest feeling fired up? Do I feel it in my gut? Like, where can we actually feel that anger in the body? Generally, these emotions, if we can just pause and feel them for 90 seconds, generally that is enough time for them to move through and we can come back to the task at hand from a more regulated state. If that wasn't enough, if you still feel very activated, maybe we need to do some sort of somatic practice to actually move that energy. So if you're angry, maybe this looks like grabbing a pillow and screaming in a pillow. Maybe it looks like jumping up and just shaking and feeling that anger and shaking it off. Maybe it looks like doing some sort of breath of joy practice where you are breathing 3 times and then you let it go. And maybe you just need to let out a scream or a grunt or a sigh, whatever vocal expression your body wants to express. Maybe that's what you need to do. If it's still there, do something more somatically to shake, jump, dance, scream, and process it again through our body. This is going to feel uncomfortable at first and probably for a while. You have to think that you have been operating in this way, depending on how old you are, in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, for decades that you have been operating in this manner. So we need to rewire and let go of this energy in the body. It's going to take some time. But if you can have some self-awareness, and whenever you feel these triggers come up, if you can pause for 90 seconds, reassess, do some sort of somatic movement, and keep doing it on repetition, you will start to feel the energy shifting every time. Another practice that you can do to start shifting this in the nervous system that I love is visualization. So if you are manifesting a certain financial goal, say you want to pay off your credit card debt, or you want to get a raise at work, or you want to hit 100K a year in your business this year, go into visualization. So sit down for 5-10 minutes, whatever feels great with you, and make this a daily practice and just sit there and visualize yourself meeting that milestone. And don't just see it, actually feel into it. So say you're manifesting a promotion at work. What is that actually going to feel like? And bring in the senses, because this is an embodiment practice. This is how we're healing the nervous system, is we want to embody the feelings, the emotions of what we want to experience in our life. So if I was manifesting a promotion at work, I would think and feel into my boss giving me the phone call to tell me that I got promoted, and seeing the new number on the paper and how I would feel when I saw that number on the paper and getting my first paycheck deposited into my bank account at this higher amount. Like, what would that feel like? Would I be jumping up and down and celebrating? Maybe I'll visualize the phone call I'm making to my mom or my husband to tell them that it happened. Maybe I'll think about the celebration dinner that I'm going to have with my friends or my family. Like, what would actually happen? What would you see, smell, hear, do, touch, feel? Like, what would happen if this thing that you wanted to manifest actually came true? And start doing that on a daily basis. You hear these studies all the time about how powerful visualization is. Athletes use this all the time when they want to hit a specific goal, or they want to achieve a result in a game or hit a world record. They practice. I'm getting goosebumps as we say this because it is so powerful. They practice and see it in their mind's eye before they actually do the thing. So think about the financial goal, the thing that's triggering you that you think is not possible, and start visualizing it and tapping into what it would feel like when that actually occurred. And then the last thing I'll say about the nervous system is we're embodying these practices, right? So we're visualizing, we're shifting the energy in our body, we're moving the energy. We want to clear out those triggers and traumas and the things that are living deep within the surface. But there is also work that we need to do on like a strategic level, meaning that We need to have practices in place. We need to have systems in place. We need to have things in place so that we are having a relationship with our money and actually physically doing something with our money, meaning having the money date that I spoke about, that you have some sort of parameters around your money that helps you budget or stay in alignment with your spending plan, or that you are actually creating offers if you're an entrepreneur in your business that are going to help you meet those financial goals. We can't just sit at home on our couch and hope that all of our financial worries are solved. We get a better relationship with money by shifting the energy internally within our body, but also physically taking action steps to take control of our money. I actually created a money reset workbook. There's a little quiz in there that'll help you analyze what type of money style you fall into. And it'll give you some journal prompts for you to reflect, what actually is my money story? So I'll leave the link in the show notes below for you to download that reset workbook. Highly recommend digging into that. This is the first piece to self-awareness. Within that workbook, I've also got some nervous system regulation tools, some practices that you can implement to help you embody this new identity, this new version of yourself who has a good relationship with money, who feels good when interacting with their money, who isn't scared of their money, feels regulated, who's not anxious, who isn't ashamed. We need to bring those feelings in the body. So I have some embodiment somatic practices also included in that workbook. So I highly suggest you download that and implement those this week. Money is important. It needs to be on the values list. If you don't value money, I want you to take a look and ask, like, where is money? Where does that fall on my values list? Because for something that is so important, something that we interact with on a daily basis, why is it not in your top values? Is it because you think that money is evil, that only bad people have money? I want to tell you that money is a tool. It's just like a kitchen knife. The kitchen knife can be used as good. It can cut your food, or it can be used for bad. It can actually hurt somebody. Money is the same way. It's just a tool. If somebody is a good person and they have money, they will do good with it. If someone is a bad person and they have money, they will do bad with it. Money does not inherently make you a bad person or an evil person. So if money is not on your current values list, I want you to look at that and assess why. Why not? What are my beliefs around money to where I think that this isn't important when I know that it impacts all these other areas of my life? So I hope this was helpful. I hope this got the wheels turning. You can start digging into your relationship with money and seeing how that's impacting and creating your current reality, your current situation, and how you actually feel within the body today. And if you love this conversation, make sure you hit subscribe. We're talking about loving your money this entire month. I'm going to be breaking down more topics just like this, the nervous system and money, why money is actually spiritual, and having more of it is a good thing. And there's so much more from that. So hit subscribe. Let me know what you loved about this conversation in the comments. And if you want to work together and actually heal your relationship with money, stop avoiding feeling anxious and feel good about your money, I'm opening up one-on-one sessions to do 1 month intensives together. I'll leave that link below. I would love to support you along your journey to healing your relationship with money and creating more wealth, abundance, and happiness in your life. So that's what I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I can't wait to chat with you next week. Have an amazing week ahead, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.